failure. That is what has empowered me to succeed. Some people may feel as though failure is catastrophic. I, on the other hand, feel that failure is the key to success. Now you might be thinking to yourself, how can failure possibly be the key to success? All began with failure, and a lot of it. To me, failure is all in the way you perceive it. You could see failure as the end. However, I see failure as the beginning. You see, when you fail, it means number one, you're still trying. And number two, you have figured out what not to do for the next time. Everyone has a different path on their journey to becoming empowered to succeed. We all certainly have the capability to do so. So, how do we make it happen? I believe there are two specific tools that can assist us on our journey to becoming successful. The ability to learn from our unsuccessful moments, also known as failures, and we must have grit, a lot of grit. I experienced my fair share of failure. You see, I failed socially, but most importantly, I failed academically. Picture this. I was the girl in the back who didn't really say much, and yet was being verbally attacked. Not knowing how to defend myself, I just sat back and took the torment. These comments were so hurtful that I unfortunately began to believe everything this boy said. I believed that I was ugly, stupid, and not worthy of being alive. This boy had managed to get into my mind and destroy my self-worth and self-confidence. At that point in my life, I was certainly not empowered to succeed. I felt as though I didn't have the personal skills that are so essential in becoming successful socially and emotionally. I didn't know how to react socially, so to cope with my hurt, I became a behavior problem, which, as you can imagine, just made the situation worse. Not only was my behavior a problem, but I let my grades slip. I was failing socially and academically. Now you might ask, how is that a failure on my part if I was bullied? Well, let me tell you. In retrospect, my failure was how I dealt with the bully. I allowed him to shape me. I became angry. The way I dealt with the bully was a failure on my part. That was a dark time in my life. I learned how to turn his torment into my power. I didn't see it at the time, but my turning point was coming. Where I have learned lesson planning, conflict resolution, and developmentally appropriate curriculum, all of which has empowered me to succeed. I didn't see it at the time, but my turning point was coming. So I set out to work as hard as I have ever worked. Grit helped me gain the confidence I needed to be competitive. I was empowered, and I felt it. Helped me regain the confidence that I had lost in middle school, and those hurtful words from my bully began to disappear. Although I had failed to appropriately respond to my bully, I was able to learn from that and incorporate grit and move on to accepting the opportunities that came my way. Began to transform my mindset from failure being the end to failure being the beginning. I slowly began to learn from my past failures of not knowing how to respond to my bully and began to shift my focus on myself because I knew that my life would be better spent working to make myself better and brush off what terrible things bullies might say. With failure and grit, I have learned the skills necessary to continue my journey of empowerment to succeed. I look forward to many more years of failure because I know that with failure and grit, I will continue preparing for leadership in the world of work.